That's an old computer tower. And I want to harvest the power supply out of this bad boy and use it to power LEDs and various and sundry things like that around the layout. So I've already tested this and it powers on. So that tells me the power supply is probably good. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig her out. All right, got it. I think there's a bunch of other guys that have made videos on how to do this. But you can see there's all these different voltages available. I need to do some research about which one I should use for LEDs. I'm really not sure. But the idea here is I just had this kind of laying around. It was a surplus work computer that I bought on the cheap, like 20 bucks, probably 6 years ago. So it was a 6-year-old computer then. So kind of useless as a computer, but I think given what I'm trying to do with the brewery and lighting it up and thinking about adding some lights to some other buildings and stuff, I think this is a good development. So got it out. Still need to follow other people's work and get this thing wired up. But if I slow pan around into staging over here, I've got my command station, and this doohickey here allows you to use your phone as a throttle to run the trains. But I've got this huge power strip here. Runs all the way over there. A lot of stuff on my bench is over there. There's an old iPhone I use as a throttle. So I got plenty of places here to plug something in. And I probably just, if I come underneath here, we'll just mount the power supply somewhere under there and run another bus for the lights. So that's my thinking. So that'll allow me to light up the brewery and do some other cool stuff. All right, just showing you guys a little progress, kind of what I'm working on. I'm not going to make a video on how to do this. I'm actually following pretty closely, at least in terms of the wiring, Tom on Tom's Trains and Things. He didn't have extras. I have a few. Some of these I'll use, but I have a couple extra yellows and some extra blacks I'm not going to use. And I'm mostly interested in this plus 12, the yellow wires, because I'm going to use that for a bus to light structures off LED lighting strips. And I'll show you that in just a second. But again, on both using the power supply and what I'm doing here and the lighting strips themselves, there are other folks out there much more electrically inclined than I am, and I suggest you go check out Tom's Trains and Things for how to do this. And I actually was watching the DCC guy. He was talking about the lighting strip. So there's a video from a little while back where he goes into how that all works. But that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you what I picked up here in just a second. So I got more lights than I'll ever need on this layout off Amazon. These are warm white. They come, like I said, 3 in a set. You can see the resistors are already there, and you can cut it where the scissors are. So little groups of 3, and it takes 12 volts. So that's why I'm interested in the 12 volts off this old computer power supply. Put these in some structures and light them up and detail them and do some cool stuff. And I can also use that with I think 1,000 ohm resistor, something like that, for other exterior lights and stuff like that, floodlights and lamps and things of that nature. But for the interiors, I'm going to use these. Very cheap, very easy to use. I think this is 5 meters, 300 lights. I'll never use all that. So even if I put 6 in a building, I'm not going to have 50 structures on this layout. So more than enough for 10 bucks. So that's what I'm working on. All right, so I've moved to the workbench, and again, following the advice from Tom on Tom's Trains and Things, built my power supply here. I've got it all hooked up. All those loose wires I had before, I went ahead and added new clips, so I've got, you know, all the orange ones together. The black ones split into 3 different groups. That's your ground. They're all the same. The red and the yellow, I've pulled those extra yellow ones all in here as well. And then what's coming off of here, your a ground and the green wire go to a switch. That's just an on-off switch. A ground and the gray wire can go to an LED indicator, which I do not have yet, but that won't affect the circuit. It should still work without it. And I did pull, just like Tom did, one of the 5-volt red wires in a ground and put a 5-ohm 5-watt resistor on top just to kind of stabilize the load. I don't really understand the science of it, but apparently with that resistor in there, the voltage is more stable across all the other wires that aren't in that circuit. So I've got this bad boy all set up. I've got it plugged in the wall, and hoping that I'm not going to set my house on fire or something with this Frankenstein here. Let's flip the switch and see what happens. Well, I don't know if you could hear that, but there was a click, and you probably can't see it, but the fan is now spinning. This was a mini tower, so I think this is a very quiet running power supply. It's not a hugely powerful one. 270 watts, I believe, was what it was, if I'm not mistaken. 270 or something like that. But now I've got my voltmeter on, and let's just see if we're getting voltages. So the orange and the ground together should be plus 3.3. So let's see on the ground, and we are live. Yeah, 3.31. A little bit variable there. Yeah, 3.31. That's pretty good. So the plus 5 should be the red wire. So ground and yeah, little 5.0 and change, 5.1-ish, 5.09. So that's good. And the plus 12 is the yellow wire. Let's try that. So ground, yellow. I'm getting 11.8 something, 11 point, you know, rounding to 11.9, pretty close to 12. And it didn't set my house on fire, so that's a plus. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and mount this under the layout, kind of behind the power pack like I showed before, and mount this to my control panel. Sorry, this, you can't see it, the switch. So let me just turn it back off and click, and the fan stops spinning. So pretty simple, just following his instructions. I'm gonna get it mounted. This was a nice break. I've been in the middle of the brewery project for, you know, a couple of weeks now. You guys are probably getting sick of seeing that structure. So just doing something different while I wait for some detail parts for that to come in. Figured this is something I needed to get done also, so went ahead and did it. Again, this is not a how-to. This is just what I'm working on, following people that know a whole heck of a lot more about these things than I do. All right, we're under the layout. I've got the power supply mounted up underneath, and I just wanted to show you this. I thought of it before I mounted it, and I'm glad I did, because it would be really difficult. I've got about 4 inches of clearance there between the board where you see the terminal strip and the bottom of the layout there. The power supply itself fit perfectly in there. That's good. And so I actually ran some jumpers off of that terminal strip, and as I sort of try not to lay on a million things under here, now I have a bus I can easily pick up from underneath. So that board I just attached to the 1x4 joists, and now I can tie into that front, you know, head to the right with any of those 3 voltages as a bus. I'm going to start with the 12 volt bus and use that for LEDs, but now I've put myself in position for, I don't know, switch machines and other random stuff off the 5 volt bus. You know, I've got 3 there as well for whatever. But I'm going to start with the 12, and just wanted to show you that that extra terminal strip. All right, and just to kind of wrap this up with a bow, I made myself a little black box there to sit on top of the control panel. It's currently just held in there with tape because my LEDs are on order. It's just not here. What that's going to be is a just a green LED that I'll put right next to this switch. That'll be an indicator light when the power's on for the you know, the 12 volt, 5 volt, 3.3 volt buses. So this part works. So I just hit the switch. If I adjust down here, you can see the LED on the power supply comes on. And if I hit the switch again, back off. So real simple, but just something here so I can turn that off if, I don't know, for some reason I don't want to have the lights on. I'll be able to turn it on and off. So I just put this in temporarily here, knowing I got to come back and drill a hole for the LED and mount that. This is a heavier board here. I've already drilled a hole in that for the that's where these wires are coming out through. So that's just one little quick thing. Once that comes, it should be here this week, maybe Tuesday, and I'll wrap this part up right here. So treated you guys to something other than building a brewery. Hopefully it was interesting. I highly recommend Tom's Trains and Things, his video on how to actually you know, work with these things and which wires are which and how to do it, as well as the DCC guy, where he does how to actually use the LED strips. So I hope everyone is well and safe. And if you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe and check out some of my other videos too. Thanks, everybody.